I'll make this as quick as possible. As you know, I'm always looking and pondering on how things can play out in the end times. Always. And not necessarily as far as when, as far as what year, but when as far as what time of the year, or when will it play out according to history this way, history that way. There's so many avenues of considering different plausible scenarios. And especially in the light when you consider Isaiah 46:10, which says, I make known the end from the beginning, from ancient times what is still to come. So we know with that verse alone, he makes known the end from the beginning. So there's something in the end that will be similar to things that have taken place in ancient times. Amen? Okay, so I'm going to say, if I'm going to title this little message or 10-minute message here, if you will, I'm going to call it the 11th month. Okay? There are lots of things I'm finding with the 11th month, and I've seen things before, but there's more I'm finding, and so I want to share it with you real quick. So here we go. Why is this month something we should be considering something as plausible? This year, next year, 10 years from now. I'm talking just the 11th month, all right, mind you. 1. It was the first day of the 11th month that Moses gives the second covenant to the next generation of Israel, as noted here in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 3. Deuteronomy 1:3 is where we see it's the end of the 40th year. They're getting ready to go into the promised land, and it's on the first day of the 11th month is when the book of Deuteronomy is given to us. Okay? 11th month. Now, this is right before they go into the promised land, mind you. For those who didn't know that this is a new covenant added, it is. If you go to Deuteronomy 29:1, we see where there are two covenants. One that was given to the first generation, and this new covenant with the law that's given to this next generation. So that's something a lot of people don't realize. There's two covenants. And this is the new covenant given to that next generation. Now, too, we see that Moses was told to commission Joshua, as seen here in Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse 28. He's told to give that commission to Joshua. He's taken over after you. And Moses did this, and after he gave the new covenant to them, as we see here in Deuteronomy 31, verse 7. This is where he just gave them the whole covenant, the law, repeating it all over again, which Deuteronomy means second law, given a second time. At the end of it all, Moses steps up and commissions Joshua. Now, 3. In verse 14, we see Yahweh commissioning Joshua. This is verse 14. This is where you see Yahweh himself is commissioning Joshua. So now he doesn't just get it from Moses, he gets it from Yahweh himself, all right? Now remember, all of this is taking place when? In the 11th month. Now, then we see Moses told to go and look at the promised land from Mount Nebo, and there he died. And we see this in Deuteronomy 32. He goes up to Mount Nebo, okay? He sees the promised land, which he is forbidden to enter in. And then this is where we see that he dies. Okay. Then we see, are you with me so far? Am I going too fast? I know I'm kind of going through it quickly. Then we see in 34:5 that Moses actually did die on Mount Nebo. Okay, right there in the mountains of Moab. So sometime in the 11th month, listen to this, Moses dies and Joshua takes over under the new covenant. In the 11th month. All right. Now, maybe it's just me, but knowing that Joshua is a shadow of Yeshua, shouldn't this at least raise our eyebrows of, ancient times, what is still to come? Joshua took over in the 11th month. Could Yeshua take over with the new covenant in the 11th month? That's the question. Don't know. But it's a question, I think it's a valid question, quite honestly. Now, for those who don't believe Joshua is a shadow of Yeshua, I want to write this down. I want to ask you to please read Joshua chapter 10. Joshua chapter 10, you will find it is a spitting image of the Battle of Armageddon. Okay? Just read Joshua chapter 10 when you get the time, tonight, tomorrow, whenever. But you will find Joshua chapter 10 is so amazingly similar to the Battle of Armageddon. Now, then we see the Israelites mourn for Moses for 30 days in chapter 34, verse 8. Okay, 34, verse 8, we see them mourning for 30 days. So the baton was passed from Moses to Joshua sometime in the 11th month. Exactly when, we don't know. There's lots of things I've been trying to figure out, but I just can't narrow it down that a whole lot. And there's reasons I can explain that later. Now, let me narrow some thoughts down, though, as how this could apply to the future. Remember, ancient times, what is still to come. In Zechariah, we see Yeshua standing with his bride on the 24th day of the 11th month. And this is found in Zechariah chapter 1. I want to go ahead and read this for us real quick. It says, on the 24th day of the 11th month, the month of Shavuot, in the second year of Darius, the word of Yahweh came to the prophet Zechariah, son of Berechiah, the son of Iddo. Verse 8. During the night I had a vision, and there before me was a man riding a red horse. He was standing among the myrtle trees. Now, the word myrtle here is actually hadassim, the plural form of Hadassah, which is actually also the name of Esther, Hadassah, okay? So here we have him standing in the ravine, okay? Behind him were red, brown, and white horses. Now later we find this is actually, this man, what's talking about here on the red horse, is the angel of the Lord. When we go to the next part, verse 11, it says, and they reported to the angel of Yahweh, the angel of the Lord, who was standing among the myrtle trees. Okay, so this is the man now. The man is identified as the angel of the Lord, the angel of Yahweh. We have gone throughout the earth and found the whole world at rest and at peace. Now, that's a whole different message. I can take forever to really explain a lot of stuff there. But I truly can tell you, I believe with all my heart, this is Yeshua standing with his bride. All right? On the 24th day of the 11th month. All right? Are you with me so far? Okay. I'm halfway done already. We're going to be getting this real fast. So if I'm correct, and this is the case, then it would make sense that Yeshua takes his bride and starts the new covenant sometime by the 24th day of the 11th month. Whatever year that is. Okay, we don't know. I'm just simply saying the 11th month to me is important. And especially by the 24th day of the 11th month, we see him standing with his bride. And possibly with the new covenant in the 11th month. Now, next. Luke 21:36 says that we should always be on watch and pray that we may be able to escape all that is about to happen, so that you may be able to stand before the Son of Man. You've heard me say this before. When it says to stand before the Son of Man, that's marriage language. Thus, the new covenant. The covenant taking place where they enter into covenant. All right? So when in the 11th month could that be? Well, here's a scenario I think we should possibly be considering. Okay. When we look at Revelation chapter 9, I personally been wondering about the 5 months of the locusts, okay, in Revelation 9. I don't know why, but it just seems to me that these 5 months should end on a significant date. Okay. Now, what about what I'm about to say really only applies to this specific year, this part, this element. Now, yeah, it can be applied to different times in the future, depending on the calendar falls and stuff. But this next few minutes here is going to be specifically for this year and how it falls specifically on our calendar that we follow here. Okay, that I follow, my family and I. However, again, the principle could still be moved over in different years. Well, what if it's true that those 5 months of Revelation 9 end on a special day? A day possibly being Shavuot, also known as Pentecost in the Greek. Now, that being the case, next slide. If you look at Shavuot this coming year, on our calendar, it's June 20th. Again, that's the calendar that we follow. Everyone got different calendars. Got it good. But on the calendar that we follow, it's June 20th. Well, 5 months back before that lands on January 24th, the 11th day of the 11th month, 11/11. Now, these creatures are told not to harm those who have the seal of Yahweh on them, that being the 144,000. Now, if we go to the next slide, 4 days later, on the 28th of January, is the full moon. Okay, the full moon. Now, why is this significant? Two reasons why this day, January 28th, is significant. One, we see the sixth seal happens when the full moon takes place. That's when the full moon turns blood red. It says the whole moon turns to blood. Okay, again, that's Revelation 6. So, I find that interesting. Now, second, two, this day is also Tu B'Shavat, that being 15th day of the 11th month. It is a Jewish holiday according to the Hebrew month of Shabbat. Now, it's also called Rosh Hashanah, and then I can't pronounce the word, Lalanat, maybe. Forgive me for those who know the Hebrew better on that. But it literally means New Year of the Trees. Interestingly enough, just a little bit later, what do we find? It's when Yeshua is with his bride with the myrtle trees. Okay, New Year of the Trees, and here he is. Just a week later, he's in the ravine with the myrtle trees. So, if the 11th day of the 11th month, January 24th, is when the abyss is open. This is all if, mind you. Okay, if it is, my question is, according to my current theory and mindset of how things are going to be, when does the New Jerusalem show? Because my current theory is the New Jerusalem comes down, and then everybody sees it. Okay, it doesn't touch land. That's not until after the millennium. But they'll see it hovering because it's going to be the aliens that people are saying are going to be invading. Now, when could that be? Could it happen on that same day? Could be. However, I got to confess, I'm a conspiracy-minded kind of person every once in a while. Don't judge me. I heard that. Okay. The conspiracy mind in me has always wondered, why do I see the numbers 7-Eleven? I see the number 7-Eleven quite often. Obviously, you got the not the grocery store, but the little convenient mart. But I see 7-Eleven in a lot of different movies. Now, in fact, I don't know if you guys caught this before. This has been about 2 years ago. President Trump actually referred to 9/11 as 7-Eleven one time. Did you know that? He did. He specifically said, and then all the news media, just raising with the coals, But he was talking about 7-Eleven, implying about 9/11. Or was he? Conspiracy minds want to know. Now, this is all fun, mind you, okay. But the point being is, 7-Eleven happens to be, on the Hebrew calendar, 7-Eleven, next slide, you'll see it actually falls on January 20th, on Inauguration Day of all days. All right. So I thought that was rather interesting. Now, whether any of that regarding this specific year falls into play, well, that's always the famous phrase I always say, let's watch and see. Now, but one thing for sure, I believe with all my heart, the next slide is simply the 11th month. When I see the baton passed over from Moses to Joshua in the 11th month, with the new covenant, mind you, and knowing he makes known the end from the beginning, ancient times, what's still to come. Well, then doesn't it only make sense that we should at least be mindful of the 11th month, that could be when Yeshua, takes over with the new covenant. Are you with me? Now, bottom line, I believe there is reason to believe the birth pains could begin in the 11th month. Now, if you haven't seen my teaching, The Birth Pains, you'll need to. For that, I think everyone misunderstands what the birth pains are. The birth pain starts with the resurrection, and you got to see that teaching for it to completely make sense. But I believe there is reason to believe the birth pains could begin in the 11th month with the 3.5 Moedim spoken by Daniel taking place at unleavened bread, Shavuot, Sukkot, and concluding with the last great day. Now, I don't have it. I'm going to make this slide if I can make it bigger. I do want to read this because people always hear about the times, and half a times. Okay, I get it. But do you know that when Daniel talks about the times, and half a times in Daniel chapter 12, he says Moed, Moedim, and Chatzi. People don't know that. Meaning, Moedim, his appointed times. An appointed time, two appointed times, and in the midst of an appointed time. Okay? And my whole point is, this goes in line with my teaching that I have simply titled, Declaring the End from the Beginning, that the tribulation under the Antichrist can literally be cut short to 6 months. When I first made that presentation, someone laughed at me, and they came back and they apologized because they said it made so much sense afterwards. Didn't say they agreed with it, but they said, man, you present something very plausible. I got to start thinking about this. And so that's all I'm asking you to do, is to consider this, because I'm telling you, when the end times do kick in gear, all of our theories are going to be thrown out the window, okay? Because it's not going to happen the way we think. And that's why I have so many scenarios. So let's find out how it's going to work out. The last thought I do want to give here regarding this is that the day of Shabbat is also known Sabbath. Okay. When Yeshua said in Matthew 24:20, pray that your flight will not take place in winter or the Sabbath. The Sabbath is the Greek. What did Yeshua say in the Hebrew? Shabbat. Pray that your flight will not take place in the winter or Shabbat. Well, the next question is, did he mean the Shabbat of the day or Shabbat of the month? That's the question. Now, I can't prove that. And I wouldn't even dare try to. But when I look at the 11th month and how everything is, I'm seeing all these different parallels starting to come together. I'm going, maybe he did mean that, type thing. So, that all being said, it's just something to think about, something to pray about. And it's funny because next week, we start the 11th month, at least on our calendar that we follow. So it'll be interesting to see the next, 30-something days and see what happens. If nothing happens, we keep watching. But I do just want to always keep this in mind. The 11th month, I believe, is something we need to pray about every year it comes around. Amen? All right, that's all I have. Ready to get started in Torah portion? Amen. Joshua, can you kick us up here with the Torah portion?